Double or Nothing from Louis Armstrong Stadium, a sold-out show for the company that is, as of now, their fourth largest gate in company history, second highest in the U.S. behind last year's All in Texas show. And we got several additions to the 0 Hour. So as of now, there are 3 matches here that are listed for 0 Hour. We have the Divine Dominion of Megan Bayne and Lena Cross against Zeta Steel and Viva Van in a 5-minute tag team eliminator. Boom and Doom. Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall teaming with Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong with Big Justice in the corner against Shane Taylor Promotions of Shane Taylor, Anthony Ogogo. Returning to Double or Nothing, the scene of his big legendary match with Cody Rhodes in 2021.
We're talking about AEW original Anthony Ogogo at this point. He's going to be coming on 10 years soon, I feel, in this company quietly.
Yes. Maybe one of the most infamous matches in AEW history, Cody and Ogogo. And they will be with Sean Dean, Carly Bravo, and Lee Moriarty in a get everybody onto the card match, including Big Boom.
Sponsored by Vita Coco.
This whole buy-in is presented by Vita Coco that got just stated over and over again on Wednesday. Their presenting sponsor. They
are, but this match in particular, they decided to put the graphic, like the actual coconut water, like boxes plastered all over this particular match. So Vita Coco is specifically, I would say, going to have an even larger part here.
Is Mark Briscoe going to fire up by chugging down coconut water?
Maybe for one night only, he will be Coconut Water Cassidy.
Okay. And then we also have the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Wheeler Yuta against Anthony Bowens, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata in a trios match. So 3 matches as of now on the buy-in, along with Mick Foley's AEW debut, where he will be alongside Renee Paquette. And we got a bit more insight. Tony Khan stated he's going to be at all the pay-per-views. He's going to be at several TVs. He won't be at all the TVs, but he's an on-air contributor right now. Tony Khan is hopeful that he'll be pitching ideas and working with young talent. And basically he was asked about Mick Foley wrestling, and he acknowledged Mick Foley has gone through a lot of punishment in his career, and he would never want to force him into wrestling. But if he was cleared and wanted to do a match, they'd be open to it in AEW. I do not want to see this man wrestle at all. I think there's plenty of things you can get out of Mick Foley, and he listed them. He wants Mick Foley to be an ambassador for the company, do on sales. He's certainly someone you can send out there in the media to represent your company. There's lots to be done with a Mick Foley. If you're AEW, wrestling does not have to be on that list.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how well he does in this sort of preview analyst type of role. Honestly, it's not the juiciest role. It's not the type of role that I think will really take full advantage of what he's able to offer. But as a way to sort of dip his toes into the AEW waters, into maybe coconut waters, and in order to show us how familiar he is with the current product, I am somewhat curious to hear how he does.
So let's go on to the pay-per-view itself, and we're going to go from the bottom up here, starting with Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita for the AEW International Championship. And, Okada was supposed to challenge Darby, and then it was just stated he had to go back to Japan for an undisclosed reason. So we haven't seen Okada on television the last couple of weeks. So this pretty much has not had a whole lot of build in Okada's absence. It's sort of, the feud has been going on forever, so it kind of sells itself there. I mean, we're getting the match, and I guess the question is is this the end destination point for the Okada Takeshita saga?
I don't think so. I mean, the way I think modern wrestling feuds tend to go is at the very least a trilogy, if not a best of 7 or a best of 15 in some cases. And with these two, they had their last match at World's End where Okada defeated Takeshita, and therefore I think Takeshita will probably get his win back, leading to, maybe a bigger match between the two of them, maybe with the stipulation attached to it. But Takeshita winning the ICE International Championship, I can see it here. Yeah.
Do we get a better finish than we did at World's End?
Remind me.
That was the one with the hidden wrench.
Okay. Yes, of course, because of the Continental Classic. I didn't mind that finish. What really, honestly, like as a way to get out and for the heel to win that way. I don't expect. Maybe I expect a callback to the wrench spot, but this time Takeshita thwarting it.
I mean, we could get the opposite here, where it's Takeshita outsmarting Okada and eventually a rubber match between these two. I mean, this is a program that has been dragged out for a long time, but I can't say
Are you sick of it?
No, I'm not. I know some people
way.
are, but I feel like the byplay between these two in all of their segments are really fun. It's like this competitive rivalry that these two have, and Don Callis trying to appease both of these star players that he has on the roster.
I'm ready to see Okada taken to like a new level, and I think losing the international championship while continuing having to face and interact with Takeshita as part of the Don Callis family will hopefully unlock maybe a more serious, maybe even desperate side of Okada.
All right, so I think we're both leaning Takeshita in this one. FTR against Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, an I Quit match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. If Copeland and Cage lose, they must retire as a team. They cannot team up any longer. I don't know if this one has like this stipulation has really captured everybody. They tried with the promo this past week. I think everyone views this as this will be Cage and Copeland's title win at the end of this long path toward this. They had a very good match at the last pay-per-view, and I imagine this one is going to be they're going to pull out all of the stops for this one and probably get a lot of time for this one as well. But this is going to be, man, there's so much on this card, like a stadium stampede, an I Quit match, a hair stipulation, Okada Takeshita. I mean, you just go up and down this card. Like there is just so much on this pay-per-view that I wonder by the end of the show, will a match like this stand out from some of the other stuff we see?
I think it depends on maybe the creativity of the stunts in this I Quit match. I mean, that's kind of what this has going for it. That will be different from the others is the I Quit stipulation and therefore plunder, right? And with Edge and Christian, you automatically think about maybe their history with gimmicks, and I hope that they're okay by the end of it because some level of risk will be taken here, and I think it has to be at the very least creative enough to be memorable. So I am looking forward to this. I also think like just even given the track record of FTR having won two matches in this feud already, I think Cope and Christian are probably going to win. I also don't think Tony Khan will just shelve the possibility of another Cage and Cope match when he has. You can argue that like that might be the biggest appeal of having both of these guys on the roster at this point. You haven't had your Bucks match yet. You haven't had your any number of matches. So, I mean, I think Cope and Cage will win this one, and I just hope for an entertaining match that's different enough from the others.
And I think that we get Beth Phoenix returning and gives a pile driver to Stokely to put him back into the wheelchair.
I love it.
I think Beth has to get involved here.
Totally. Yeah, she's been somewhat understated, but we do have constant reminders of her attack, and I think now would be a good time for her to come back. Take that watch away from Stokely.
You're right. The watch can be settled, and this will be good heat on FTR that they're the ones that quit, and the crowd can catcall them coming off of this. And yeah, I think for all reasons that we listed, Cage and Copeland winning, and it sets up some interesting tag matches for what will be like Copeland and Cage's last sort of tag run before, these guys start to wind it down at some point. But there's some big tag matches. And if you throw in a New Day as well, like there's all these wild matches you can do for a period of time with Cage and Copeland that, these guys, it's not like they can do these matches every week, but every month you could certainly ride this out through Wembley with this run. Like I think Cage and Copeland against the Bucks, like that could be your Wembley match.
It could be the match you do at Montreal, like for that rumored show.
Yeah, that's a good call, for sure. Then we go to Stadium Stampede, which it pretty much is anarchy in the arena, but we're not running an arena, so it is now Stadium Stampede.
In terms of size, I mean, Louis Armstrong Stadium holds what, 14,000, which is more, I guess, an arena size, but just due to naming convention, what exactly is the difference?
Well, it's literally called Stadium, so they're going with Stadium. It'd be hard if this was Louis Armstrong Arena, I guess. Yeah. Wade, there's only one question here. What music will be licensed?
Oh, well, you'll have your Judas. What else will you have?
How about Papa Roach? Let's think early 2000s. Maybe Gob.
How about My Way? You know, like how about just the whole Limp Bizkit, like Chocolate Starfish album that they could play?
How about Frank Sinatra's My Way?
They can go right into that as well. Yeah. Dude, I don't know, man. Take your pick. They've already done Baltimore with this. Maybe you'll get I don't know, Kansas.
Does he go all out for like Jay-Z or something for the location?
Does Jay-Z really inspire the same type of like, Stadium Stampede feel? I guess the
99 Problems, maybe.
Yeah. Rick Rubin. They probably have it in already.
Okay. These are these are the only questions I have.
I got the perfect one.
Okay.
You got David Finlay, you got Clark Connors. Who let the dogs out?
Oh, man.
Oof.
I love it. Yeah. Yes. And then Gabe Kidd comes out and he's got them on a leash or something. And the answer is Gabe Kidd. Mm-hmm. He let the dogs out. Okay.
This will be entertaining. These almost always are. And the feeling that I'm looking for at the end of it all is just like a feeling of just like a strange euphoria of like not really fully comprehending what I just watched, but knowing that it was awesome. You have all the elements there. It's Jericho. It's the Bucks. It's Kenny Omega, who's been amazing at these. Hurt Syndicate, I'm curious to see like how they interact in these sort of balls.
I think they're going to be great in this in kind of like limited doses. Like no one's going to be overexposed in this match. I think the hard part is going to be blocking out this match where it's not going to be contained to just the ring. It's going to be all over the place and you have 14 people. I think generally the story here, I would not have Jericho. Like, I think ultimately this thing with Ricochet has to lead to Jericho wins with the Lion Salt. And I don't see that happening in this match. I think they push that to a later date. I think at the end of this whole thing, Kenny Omega comes out as like winning it for his team. If you have the belief that Omega is going to Wembley and positioning him in a way that he gets another crack at the title before Wembley. And this ends up being, he gets some spectacular one-winged angel off some elevated area, something big, where it's like Kenny Omega gets the big spotlight victory.
Seems like the A story in all of this. So yeah.
Could you see this goes into our main event discussion as well? But like if this Montreal pay-per-view is the location, like Kenny going for the belt in Montreal, is that a possibility?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
Again, if your belief is that Kenny is headlining Wembley, where you do it. Now, that's only 4 weeks before All In, but maybe they want to keep you guessing of like what this title match is going to be. You'll know the challenger after Forbidden Door, but you won't know the champion until this July pay-per-view.
Yeah. Although, honestly, just looking at the pairings here, I mean, we got Jack Perry and Mark Davis that are going to be in the first round of the Owen. But I kind of want to see Kenny Omega versus Mark Davis. Maybe even more, and that alone, and as a feud with Kenny going for that championship, I'm just even as a one-off on a pay-per-view, I think I would love to see that.
When you look at like the talent involved here, this match is going to be incredible. Like, dude, just think what Clark Connors is going to do in this match. Toa,
Wheelson has to make
Wheelson.
return.
Oh, and they'll put out a graphic after Wheelson is all elite after this one. This will be his official signing. Yeah, Wheelson has to make his way in here. Maybe Wheelson gets ripped off of Jack Perry's bus.
That would take some time, I feel, to do a whole tire change. And
maybe we'll get a Luchasaurus involvement in this match.
Yeah, I'm sure something with the bus, maybe. Yeah.
I think this is going to be such a creative, like the minds involved here. I mean, yes, it's a lot of people, but I will reserve judgment till we see. Will it be overcrowded? We'll see. I have a feeling this is going to like just rock inside the stadium. And I think it's going to be just like they have never missed on these types of matches, whether it's Stadium Stampede or Anarchy in the Arena. It's always like this has become like their hallmark series of matches.
Yeah.
So So that is Stadium Stampede. Then we go to Tekla, Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, and the not cleared but soon to be cleared Chris Statlander, as they have declared. It's amazing how they know she will be cleared by this date on Sunday. 4-way for the women's championship. Like we've kind of discussed this on Wednesday. It really has felt like we don't have Tekla in any kind of significant program, so we're just going to put bodies in here. I don't think anyone is expecting a title change here. The question will be, what kind of match these four have and gelling together, pushing this kind of Shida, Chris Statlander. Are they aligned? Are they going to feud at the end of this? And yeah, I see everyone expecting Tekla to retain.
Tekla retains, yeah. The other three just simply don't feel like they are compelling enough to take the belt off of Tekla at the moment. And in terms of just like big plot points, I mean, Shida I think has the biggest sort of like character development that's waiting to just be confirmed with this heel run. And will this match really kind of like confirm that status?
Probably not.
I don't think so. Not yet. Yeah. It seems like maybe they're, it'll build to it. I'm sure it'll add a lot more fuel to it, but I don't necessarily see it happening. Certainly Jamie Hayter, like her destination to me feels more like a tag team thing with Alex Windsor at All In and not necessarily anything involving the singles, but I hope the match is great, as always, like
this one's going to come down to the work that they do. Like this could get over well, but it's going in relatively cold. It's going to be left to how the four perform with each other.
Can you see a return maybe at the end of the match just to signal who Tekla's next opponent may be coming up?
Well, it's weird, right? Because her next opponent is going to be determined in this, like you have this ongoing Owen tournament, unless you're going to do something.
Forbidden Door, you'll do.
Well, Forbidden Door, I guess you could do something, but it just feels like that's going to be another like lame duck pay-per-view for Tekla, because I don't think anyone is going to believe she's dropping this before Wembley when the big challenger is going to be set that night.
Yeah, I wonder if like you might get somebody from Stardom other than like people that are currently involved in like the Owen to show up just to maybe tease something interesting and big for that particular show, but maybe you won't even get it on this show.
If the Post Wrestling Cafe were to undergo a drug test in the month of May, we would be testing positive because we are overloaded with content. We are going to be reviewing Hulk Hogan, Real American, all 4 episodes this month. Plus, we will go inside the Manosphere with a review of the latest Louis Theroux documentary. We will also have coverage of the Ronda Rousey Gina Carano fight, also taking place on Netflix. Rewind Away tackles WCW Super Brawl 2, and we cover NXT TakeOver Brooklyn from 2015. All that, plus all of the XL editions on a weekly basis, Collision Course, Daredevil Born Again, and so much more. It can all be yours at postwrestlingcafe.com. $8 gets you in the door. Samoa Joe and Will Ospreay in the first ever singles match between these two.
Shocking. But
this one ends with the death ground on Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe taps.
That would be a big statement making, event. To have Will Ospreay tap Samoa Joe out.
He wins in 17 seconds with the armbar.
I don't know.
No?
With the armbar, just mounts him and just like boom. I don't see that happening. I mean, I know I wouldn't hate that finish, by having Ospreay beat Joe.
But longer than 17 seconds.
Longer than 17 seconds, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know, man. I think Joe needs to be protected a little bit more than that when you're talking about tapping. It has to be a really convincing way to get to the submission if you're going to do that. And again, I think they will tease it. I think they will threaten it, and then maybe even like part of the ops will save Joe from it somehow, or Joe will like cheat in order to get out of the hold. Sure, but I think Ospreay ultimately wins with maybe more standard fare hidden blade or quick roll up type of finish.
You think Will's going to borrow from the new Virtua Fighter trailer?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it goes without saying, Samoa Joe has competed in New York before, but never on a stage like this.
This
is a step up from Baron Corbin and that other guy he faced in 2005.
Yeah, something like Ken something.
Ken.
Yeah.
Ken Bash. Bandito and Swerve Strickland. I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is, I'm not going to say this is a sleeper match on the card. I'm sure many people are looking forward to this. This is one where I imagine this is going to click so well. And yeah, I see Swerve winning, and I think this is going to be one of the better matches on the show, on what is a really loaded show. And, typically we'd look at a card like this and just say, well, will this one get shaved off of time? That doesn't happen on these AEW shows. Just everybody gets their 20 minutes, and we'll just be in this arena for 6 hours, but everyone's going to get their time.
Yeah. Well, every one of these matches is going to look to steal the show. And this one, I think, will be up there in contention. Bandito, anytime you put him on any sort of like major platform like this, again, you're not just talking about potential match of the night. You're talking about potential match of the year. And of course, like Swerve is very similar. And so I've been disappointed in the story. Like those great vignettes, with Swerve walking through that old town and,
does he get $100,000 if he beats this guy?
Who would pay him? Like he's the one coming up with the money, right?
Yeah, he's got to deliver him to someone, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So those were great. Those look great, but I don't think they've really been able to heat up the feud or at least drive up the personal grudge that much. But I mean, ultimately they announced this for the Owen Hart tournament, and that really kind of becomes the default story, albeit not much of a sort of one you can sink your teeth into that much, because I think it's so obvious that Swerve is the one that'll advance. Nonetheless, I mean, we're all looking for this to be one of the matches of the night. So very curious to see what they do.
Athena and Mina Shirakawa is the other quarterfinal of the women's bracket of the Owen Hart Cup. And I think everyone's expecting Athena to move past this one. And then the winner of this match.
Why?
Because I just don't see Mina Shirakawa winning this match.
Why not?
I think Athena gets at least to the second round. And based on these brackets, like if Sky Blue and Saray are all still in this, I think Athena could end up in the final based on these brackets. You seem higher on Mina Shirakawa.
I guess I'm just not sure, because like Mina is the featured one on television every single week, and Athena, as I think maybe celebrated as she is, it's just like she does not feel any sort of player right now in AEW, proper. So sorry, I got the wrong brackets up here. So I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just look back here at what the brackets are.
So on the other side, it's Persephone and Hazuki, Alex Windsor against the wild card, and then on this side, Mina Shirakawa and Athena facing the winner of Sky Blue and Saray, with Saray legitimately having a neck injury, so she can't do her match until like 3-4 weeks from now.
Okay, so we're looking at the winner of this facing most likely Saray.
Most likely Saray. I can't imagine they are booking Saray for one match.
And in that case, I mean, I think either Mina or Athena would be compelling, matches that you could promote. But maybe I'd go with you and say Athena. Like, is Mina still looking for who killed Tony Storm? Is that still her thing?
Yeah, but they've got so many months that they almost have to take the foot off the pedal of that story, because it's going to be a long, long time until they can tell that story. I don't know. This is why I felt so strongly about the idea of like Sky Blue getting replaced by someone big. It's just, this is like a weaker side of the bracket. Like, can you see any of these on the right side winning this tournament? Like, even right now, like, you take out Willow, like, man, this is a really lacking bracket in terms of just, man, this person is going to be challenging for like your big title shot of the entire year.
As far as like, again, a person's sort of like maybe value on the show week to week, I actually feel like Mina on the right side is the one with, the most cachet. She's the one with an active storyline trying to attaching herself to Tony Storm whenever she's set to come back. So again, we have no idea when that is, of course, but like her going all the way to the end at Forbidden Door in the tournament final, I don't think is the craziest idea. But also because of the Forbidden Door nature of the show, Saray going towards the final, I think is also very sensible.
Then we go to...
So you're going with Athena.
I'm Athena, yes. Athena.
I'll say Mina, just for the heck of it.
Okay. John Moxley, Kyle O'Reilly, no time limit for the Continental Championship. One weird thing about this is that Moxley is coming off this win against Ospreay last month on the pay-per-view, and no Moxley in this Owen Hart Cup. Is that kind of
Well,
weird?
he's a current champion. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, there's no real explanation for why certain people are in it and certain people aren't.
Well,
Luck of the draw.
I think this is going to be Moxley's big win against Kyle O'Reilly. I think this is where he finally gets the win against O'Reilly. Do you see this going any differently?
No, not at the moment. I think because I guess where do you go after? You know, Kyle being the Continental champion just doesn't feel as interesting at the moment. I unfortunately kind of feel like the time has passed for them to capitalize on O'Reilly following, you know, like the great value that they built in him. And it probably takes a different type of story, different type of like course for O'Reilly to get back to that level. I don't really see that happening here. I think Moxley just essentially ties up a loose end in finally being able to beat O'Reilly and then moves on to his next thing, which might involve Will Ospreay, might involve others.
Yeah, the only thing I could see them squeezing past this would be, you know, Moxley just squeaks out a win, like covers them, and you could lead to like a submission match, and that's the finality of this program. It's like he beats Kyle, but it's still he has not been able to submit him, which is going to be the ultimate deciding factor. So
I like that. I like that idea.
And you could hold off on that. You don't have to do that immediately after this, but I think we both see Moxley retaining here over Kyle. And then Darby Allin and MJF, title versus hair, which is, you know, obviously the big main event of the show, and a lot of different ways you could go with this. I think this is where the run comes to an end for Darby. I think this is where it's like it's going to be remembered as this unbelievable like 4-week run that is going to live in infamy in this company, and it's going to end while people are still so intrigued by it that it gets pulled out from under you and MJF wins, and we continue this swap of the championship that I see going from MJF to Kenny to Ospreay at Wembley. I feel that is where all of this leads toward.
Interesting. Okay. Yep. That's a great course. So you would have MJF hold it until
Montreal, I'm thinking.
Montreal. Okay.
And it's like Kenny getting his redemption after that loss earlier this year. He lost in Canada, wins in Canada, and then it sets up Omega Ospreay at Wembley.
Yeah, I like it. I also
it's a lot of flipping the title. I get that, but I think that's sort of their story right now, is that like this is this division that it is so hard to hold on to this belt, and on any night this top tier of guys can beat anyone.
Yeah, I'd like it. I also feel like it. I don't think it's the only way you can get to Ospreay versus Kenny if that's your idea. I think
you could do Darby and Kenny. Like they kind of teased that a month or two ago on TV even. Like you could go that direction. It's not like you can't continue with Darby. I think this pay-per-view is going to be a big credit to Darby, that people are really interested in this guy as champion, and you could go that direction and you'd certainly get something super memorable if you did the hair step. I don't see them doing it on this one.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many people saw Darby beating MJF on TV as a possibility, and therefore I feel like having a little bit more of like an unpredictable end to this run feels right. I think with expectations leading so much towards MJF beating Darby here, I actually can see them delaying it and having Darby retain. Maybe MJF goes off into another story while Darby ultimately loses to somebody else who can then drop it to Kenny, or Darby faces Kenny directly and wins it that way, and Kenny wins it that way. But I just see a bit more of an unpredictable outcome here, and therefore I think Darby actually wins. I think MJF gets his head shaved, which I actually think would be an improvement for his look. And he's also got short hair, which is not going to take long to grow back anyway if he chose to. So I think they've teased us so much with like the bald head MJF that I kind of feel like delivering that will just be make a more satisfying conclusion to the pay-per-view, that I could see them wanting to do it. And not to mention, getting maybe a couple weeks more of Darby matches, or maybe even a month more of Darby matches at this rate, I think would be very welcome by this crowd.
Well, we are split on the main event. I think this match is going to be incredible. They've obviously had the matches this year. They had that unbelievable opener at Full Gear. I believe it was 2021, which might have even been on your short list, if not your outright match of the year, as I recall. Like and that's kind of interesting. They had like
that
this
opener, that incredible opener.
It was a pay-per-view opener, that they did back at Full Gear. And now it's the opposite. They're closing the show. And I just have no idea what Darby is going to have in store for a pay-per-view main event of this caliber, of what he is going to do with 14,000 people, and what they are following as well, where literally this crowd will have seen everything by the time this match begins. So I'm really intrigued by this pay-per-view. I think this is one of the strongest lineups they've had, and they've typically have a lot of strong pay-per-view lineups, but I think this one has been promoted really effectively, led by this title versus hair match, and you just look at all the supplementary parts, and I think this is going to be a really, really long show, but I also think it's certainly, I can't imagine this not being a contender for show of the year. There's just too much on this show that is that will deliver, even if the odd person has a night off or something goes awry.
Yeah, this main event in particular is one that really feels like it's been the best built out of everything, and just feels right. It to me is also some level of confirmation of just like the development of your two strongest of the four AEW pillars, right? Who are now able to close out a show and not feel like that's any sort of like, I don't know, like unearned, charitable sort of act by giving them this. Like they more than feel like they are earning of this status, and at this level they both legitimately feel like they are the hottest acts in the company, at least in this particular cycle. So I mean, yeah, I probably have my highest expectations for this one, and I hope by the end of like whatever 5 hours or something that they're able to maintain the crowd's energy, which I think they will.
Are you on board at this point? Are you of the belief of Omega and Ospreay at All In London? Do you see an alternative to that main event? Because there are obviously different directions you could go in.
Yeah, well, it's Will Ospreay as one end of the equation. The only question is who. But yes, Kenny is the biggest one, I feel. Who are your other options? Like MJF, Ospreay, Moxley, Ospreay. That could also be another destination that they seem to be building to. But as far as like biggest marquee value match, I think it would be Kenny versus Ospreay.
I think so too. And if that's your destination point, like, do you hold off on a title change to July with Kenny? Do you do it at Forbidden Door? Like, when do you want?
Are we discounting Swerve entirely? What about Swerve?
Like winning the Owen?
Swerve and Ospreay at
Forbidden Door is the final. I think that's the final of the Owen tournament.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. He's in the Owen, so it can't be all in.
And they're on opposite sides, so I imagine that being the final.
Okay. What about Page? What's Page as well?
Hangman is. I would imagine he's going to be on that card, but
not in the title picture.
Not in the title picture. I mean,
probably not.
They have to come up with a storyline reason now to get him back into the title picture. So, all right, that's going to wrap up our preview of Double or Nothing. Again, we'll be live Saturday night, and we'll be live Sunday night / Monday morning on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. So you will get plenty of us this weekend as we go through it. And do follow the Poison Rana crew. They will be there live on Sunday night, as will our own John Kleinchester. He's going to be covering the show live for us. He'll be at the press conference. And on Monday's audio news update, he's going to join me and we'll talk about the live experience, the press conference, and get that perspective from John Kleinchester. So be sure to catch that on the audio news update.